Watch out, this episode contains spoilers for Transformers 1. This year, the new movie, Transformers 1, told the story of how Optimus Prime went from an ordinary robot to the legendary leader of the Autobots. But this film isn't the first time Optimus's origins have been explored. Let's look at the full story in The Basics on ORION PAX. The story of Optimus Prime's early life has been told in many different ways over the last 40 years, but the first account came from the Marvel comic book. Stories from the UK version of this series depicted the young Optimus as an athlete from the city of Iacon. He aspired to be a medic, but the outbreak of the war with the Decepticons led him to abandon that dream and instead join the Autobot army, where he proved himself a natural, inspirational leader and quickly rose through the ranks to become field commander. When Iacon's High Council proved themselves ineffective military leaders, Councillor Emerit Zaron convinced them to step down and hand full command of all Autobots over to Optimus Prime, knowing that only he could organise them into a truly effective fighting force. Though later stories would introduce the idea that Prime was a title held by leader of the Autobots, at this early stage in Transformers history, it didn't have any special meaning. It was just Optimus's surname, and so Marvel treated him as having always been called that, even before he was leader. It was the original Transformers cartoon that first gave the young Optimus a different name when it told its version of his origin story in the 1985 episode War Dawn. This episode revealed that during the golden age of Cybertron before the war, Optimus had been a dock worker named ORION PAX. A naive young bot unconcerned about the possibility of war on the horizon, Orion admired the Decepticons for their ability to fly, but that all changed on the day he met Megatron. The Decepticon leader manipulated the awestruck Orion into letting him inside one of the energy warehouses on the docks, whereupon Megatron immediately called in his troops to kill the workers and steal the energy stockpile within. His eyes now open to Megatron's evil, Orion bravely tried to stop him, only for Megatron to personally gun him down. Orion's wounded body was recovered by the Aerial Bots, a group of Autobots who had come back in time from the future. They brought him to the old sage, Alpha Trion, who, sensing Orion's heroic spirit, saved his life by completely rebuilding him into a new combat-capable form. Thus, ORION PAX became Optimus Prime, who, ashamed of his earlier adulation of Megatron, stepped up to lead the fight back against the Decepticons. This historically significant fan-favourite episode later inspired a toy of ORION PAX, a recolor of the Autobot pickup truck Cup, released through Japanese retailer eHobby in 2005. The key similarity between the comic and the cartoon was that, in both, Optimus Prime had started out as an ordinary civilian whose heroic spirit and brave deeds had proved he was worthy to be a leader. Both series detailed how, as part of being leader, Optimus was given the Matrix, a mystical talisman carried by all Autobot commanders down through history. But this addition of a magical element to Optimus's story wound up taking it in a new direction, as future stories began to explore the idea that Optimus was fated to be a Prime, chosen for the role by mystical forces, destined for it from birth. For instance, in Dreamwave Productions comic books, Optimus was originally a data archivist named Optronics, until one day, out of the blue, he was contacted by the High Council and informed that he had been chosen to be the next Prime by the will of the Matrix itself, which, when bestowed upon Optronics, physically transformed him into Optimus Prime with its unearthly power. In the world of the live-action movies, Optimus was born a Prime. He didn't know it at first, but he was a descendant of the original Primes, the legendary first Transformers from Cybertron's ancient past. Tie-in media detailed how, before Optimus learned of his divine heritage, he and Megatron had been brothers in arms and governed Cybertron together, until the truth of Optimus's lineage came to light, and the jealous Megatron turned on him, seeking to rule the planet alone. Not every series took such an approach, though. 2007's Transformers Animated preferred to depict Optimus like the original series, as an ordinary bot. Here, Optimus had been a promising cadet in the Autobot military academy, until he was expelled after taking the blame when an unsanctioned mission went wrong. He wound up the captain of a lowly space bridge repair crew, and the series followed his journey to prove himself a true hero. In 2010, Hasbro launched the Aligned Continuity, a multimedia project made up of multiple interconnected series that brought together ideas from all across Transformers history to create a unified vision for the franchise's lore, including the origins of Optimus Prime. As detailed in various sources, including the novel Exodus, the Transformers Prime cartoon, and the Covenant of Primus guidebook, the aligned incarnation of Optimus Prime began life as ORION PAX, and was, unbeknownst even to himself, the reincarnation of the last of the original 13 Primes from Cybertronian legend. Orion worked as a data archivist at the Iacon Hall of Records, where he was mentored by the head archivist Alpha Trion. At that time, Cybertron was a world of great inequality, with Transformers forced from birth into jobs and positions on the social hierarchy based on what they turned into. When a miner from the lower classes named Megatron began speaking out against this system, calling for it to be dismantled so that all Transformers could be equal, Orion joined his cause, and the pair soon became close friends, but disagreed over how best to achieve equality for their planet. Orion thought that the system could be peacefully reformed, but Megatron believed violent revolutionary action was the only solution. When the pair appeared before Cybertron's High Council to argue their case, Orion's words of peace moved the councillors, and, acting on the advice of Alpha Trion, they appointed Orion the next Prime, renaming him Optimus Prime and charging him with a quest to truly earn his title by locating the legendary Matrix of Leadership, which had been lost since the days of the original 13. Furious at what he saw as a betrayal of their shared ideals, Megatron cut all ties with his friend, and with his followers began the war to take the power he felt Optimus had stolen from him. In time, the war resulted in Cybertron's core being poisoned by dark energon, leading Optimus to venture into the planet's depths in hopes he could purge the corruption. There, he encountered the spirit of the Transformers' creator, Primus, the god who dwelled at the heart of the planet. Sensing Optimus's innate nobility, Primus bestowed the Matrix upon him, making Optimus the first true divinely appointed Prime to carry it since ancient times. The Aligned story has proven extremely influential. The basic concept at its heart, the idea of Orion Pax and Megatron once being allies, working to bring equality to their corrupt world until Megatron's violent extremism drove them apart, sparking the beginning of the war, has become the definitive modern origin story for Optimus Prime, and has continued to serve as the character's backstory in virtually every major new series released since. However, the precise details, like what Orion's job was or how he was appointed Prime, still vary between tellings. For example, in the world of IDW Publishing's comic books, instead of an archivist, Orion Pax was a security officer who, disturbed by the corruption he saw at the highest levels of Cybertron's government, joined forces with the insurgent Megatron to overthrow the planet's ruler, Zeta Prime. But once they had achieved this goal, Megatron betrayed Orion, blasting him and hurling him into the planet's depths. There, Orion discovered the long-lost Matrix, which called out to him and transformed him by its power into Optimus Prime. Later, in 2019, IDW rebooted their comics, introducing a new universe in which Orion Pax trained to be an archivist under his mentor, Codexa, but abandoned the profession to instead become a senator like his friend Megatron to help make a better future for Cybertron. When Autobot leader Sentinel Prime fell in a coup staged by Megatron's forces, the Matrix chose Orion to be its next bearer. This was a rare story in which Orion was actually given the choice of whether to accept the Matrix or not, but of course, he did. TV series, meanwhile, like 2018's Cyberverse, 2020's War for Cybertron, and 2022's Earthspark, have all depicted Orion as becoming Prime when he inherited the Matrix from Alpha Trion, much like the original series. Earthspark drew the most from the original cartoon by showing Orion to have been a manual labourer rather than an archivist. One thing from the Aligned story that most series tend not to include, however, is the idea that Optimus is the reincarnation of an ancient demigod, destined for primehood from birth. When he's chosen for the role, whether it's by Alpha Trion, Primus, or the Matrix itself, it's because his noble, peaceful pursuit of equality has proven him worthy to be a leader. As well as inspiring all these different stories, the Aligned Continuity's reintroduction of Orion Pax into Transformers lore also led to many unique toys of the character being released, beginning with a simple recolor of Optimus Prime released exclusively in the Japanese version of the Transformers Prime toy line in 2012. It was inspired by a storyline in the Prime cartoon in which Optimus temporarily lost his memories and, thinking he was Orion Pax again, was tricked by his old friend Megatron into aiding the Decepticons. The first original mold Orion Pax figure, and the first available in Hasbro markets, was released in the Generations toy line in 2013. It was based on the character's design from his first appearance in IDW's comics, and was produced in conjunction with a comic book storyline in which Optimus had stepped down as leader and returned to calling himself Orion Pax until circumstances demanded he take on the role of Prime once again. Several more figures of Orion would follow over the next decade, inspired by both his original cartoon and IDW designs. But then, in 2024, Orion went from simply getting an occasional toy to being the central character of an entire line, with the launch of the movie Transformers 1. In this film, Orion Pax was one of a lower class of mining bots who lacked the ability to transform. Seeking to prove himself more than just a miner, the impulsive Orion convinced his best friend, D16, to join him on a quest for the long-lost Matrix of Leadership. But their journey revealed dark secrets when they learned from the sage Alpha Trion that their inability to transform wasn't natural. In reality, their transforming cogs had been removed at birth by Cybertron's ruler, Sentinel Prime, who had consigned them to the mines so he could live like a king off the back of their labour. Given new cogs by Trion, Orion and D16 rallied a group of followers who helped them expose Sentinel's lies and topple his rule. But this wasn't enough for D16, who wanted to kill Sentinel and take his place as ruler. When Orion got in his way, D gravely wounded him and dropped him into Cybertron's depths. But there, at the heart of the planet, Orion was met by the spirits of Primus and the original Primes, who judged him worthy and bestowed the Matrix upon him, transforming him into Optimus Prime to lead his followers in the new fight against the tyranny of the bot D16 had become, Megatron. Perhaps Transformers 1 will become the new definitive take on Orion Pax's tale, shaping future stories like the Aligned Continuity before it. Or perhaps new series will continue to put their own spin on the story of Optimus Prime's origins. But wherever he came from, and however he came to be, he'll always remain the greatest Autobot of them all. And those are the basics on Orion Pax. What's your preferred origin for Optimus? Labourer, librarian, law enforcer, normal guy, or destined from birth? Sound off in the comments. As ever, like and subscribe for more Transformers history and lore, and support the show on Patreon for early ad-free access to new videos.